Hello there and good evening for joining us this 23rd of November, the year 2023. Indeed, it is a day full of activities and a packed event. It's also a day of joyous, at the same time a day of disappointment for the 1.4 million learners who sat for Kenya Certificate of Primary Education 2023. And of course, this will be forming the basis of our discussion. And out of this, if I can give you statistics pretty quick, 1.4 million, that is learners, the number of learners who sat for this year's Certificate of Primary Education. Then out of this, 721,544. These are number of boys who sat for this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education. Then the number of girls is 685,017. Out of this, those who scored between 200 and of course 200 to 299, the number is 658,278, and those who scored between 100 to 199, the number is 383,025. That is between the bracket of 100 to 199. And those who scored 99 and below, the number stands at 2,060. So those, remember, out of this, there is a number of 9,000 who did not sit for this year's exam for various reasons. And of course, the Ministry of Education, that is led by Ezekiel Machogu, that is the CS for Education, said that there will be a special arrangement for them to actually sit for this particular exam. And he also promised 100% transition. Well, this particular discussion, as we mark the end of 844 system and ushering in an era of competence-based curriculum. And this is the discussion that we'll be having tonight with my guest, that is Ken Echesa, education expert, to just give us a brief overview of this 844 system, even as curtain comes down officially. Well, beside that, there's still matters that concerns to you, or rather they say, the news that hit closer to home is the one that concerns you the most. And we are talking about matters to do with flood occasioned by El Nino. And to help us unpack this to some very unpleasant discussion is Peter Murgor. This is the Disaster Risk Reduction and Manager at Red Cross. So that discussion will be coming to you in just a little bit. But for now, let's get our top stories tonight. Tonight, a day of harvest. 2023 KCPE candidate receives their results as sound of victory and disappointment rent the air. End of an era. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu releases 2023 KCPE, marking the end of primary level of 844 system. Also tonight, let's go the privatization way. Ruto says plans to privatize some state-owned institutions still on course. Plus, focusing on the future, ECD Network Kenya issues rallying cry for counties and stakeholders to fund early childhood education. Kinyaga is our sign language interpreter tonight. My name is Auma Evans. Remember, you can follow this broadcast on our social media platform. We are live on YouTube at KUTVNEWS Kenya. That is live. You can tweet me at Auma Evans. Remember to use the hashtag Primetime News. And tonight, we begin our bulletin tonight with Matters Education. Michael Warutere is the last ever best candidate in Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination. The Riara Springs Academy candidate garnered 428 marks out of possible 500 marks. A Gilgil, that is a girl, Immaculate Wacheke, came second. Our reporter Edward Nyamu spoke to the top performer and compiled the following report.
The last Kenya Certificate of Primary Education results were today released by Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu and Principal Secretary for Basic Education Belio Kipsang at Mitihani House, Nairobi. According to statements from CS Machogu, this year's performance was a slight drop from past years, with this year's top student garnering 428 marks.
English conversation, Kiswahili Insha, Kenya Sign Language, Mathematics, Science, Social Studies, and religious education recorded a slight drop in performance in the year 2023 compared to the year 2022.
Additionally, Machogu has lauded teachers for ensuring there was no exam malpracticing, stating that this being the final exam, there was improvement in the languages subjects, including the sign language.
The highest score this year was 428 marks. 428 marks is the highest score for this year. I wish to commend the candidates and all officials for ensuring that the integrity and the credibility of the 2023 KCPE examination remained high. Only 2 candidates out of the total 1,406,557 were involved in examination malpractices.
According to this year's distribution of marks, candidates who garnered 400 to 500 marks were 8,525. Those who scored 300 to 399 were 352,702. Those who scored 200 to 299 marks were 658,278. Those who scored 100 to 199 marks were 383,025, with 2,060 candidates scoring 099 and below. The event was followed by a spot check by KUTV team at Riara Springs Academy, where we met with Michael Warutere, this year's top KCPE candidate who scored 428 marks. According to Warutere, who could not hide his joy, it was easy to make it to the top, tagging his school in the victory.
To achieve this feat is very, I feel ecstatic, I feel excited, happy. I was also shocked. I also had a little bit of disbelief because I wondered how did I reach this place. But I have to thank God for where He's taken me. Also the school, they have developed me both academically and holistically, and also sports, music, and all other fields.
Deputy Principal Riara School on his part has called on the national government to ensure there is equitability and location of students in secondary schools.
All the schools in this country, all the children have a right to those spaces in those schools. So it is very important for us to have the uniform allocation across the public and the private sector, because
this now marks the end of the KCPE examination, which has been tested for the last 39 years. Edward Nyamo, KUTV.
All right, now learners have already received their results. Now let's talk about the future. Form 1 placement exercise for the 2023 KCPE class will begin on Monday. Education CS Ezekiel Machogu has assured every candidate of a place in secondary school in line with the government's 100% transition into high school. At the same time, Kenya National Examination Council will administer make-up KCPE papers to some 9,000 candidates who missed the last KCPE exam for various reasons. Let's get more from our very own Yvonne Kemuma.
Remember number 7, yes?
Secondary school placements for more than 1.4 million candidates whose KCPE results were released today is expected to start on Monday, with the exercise set to run for 2 weeks. This is according to Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, who was speaking while releasing this year's KCPE results. The ministry also reports that a total of 9,354 prospective candidates failed to sit for the national examinations.
The placement process will start on Monday, the 27th of November, 2023 and conclude within a period of 2 weeks. This will allow parents and guardians adequate time to prepare their children to join Form 1 in the year 2024.
According to Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu, the ministry will conduct a thorough mapping of the affected candidates and ensure that they sit for the fresh papers in January next year. Grade 6 KCPE assessment results are, however, yet to be marked. The Kenya National Examination Council says that this is a deliberate decision taken to prioritize marking and release of KCPE to allow parents prepare early for the secondary school admissions.
The ministry will offer Form 1 placement opportunities to all the candidates who sat the 2023 KCPE examination in our public and the private secondary schools. Already the ministry has developed a fair and transparent system for Form 1 placement.
PS Education Beliod Kipsang announced that the school calendar will follow the normal pre-COVID order where students were allowed to have 3 terms in a year, alternating with short and long terms.
We are opening our schools on the 8th of January for the new year, meaning that we are back to our normal calendar of events after COVID. I would want to thank again our teachers for the much that you have put in. There were times we were running 4 terms in a calendar year.
The KCPE candidates will receive their admission letters from the examination centers, as has been the tradition. Yvonne Kimuma, KUTV.
Right, still matters. KCPE. Over 1.4 million candidates who sat for this year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education Examination, or if you prefer the acronym KCPE, have entered the annals of history as the last KCPE class. This development marks a critical moment in the journey of phase out the 39-year-old 844 system. Over 26,316,017 candidates who sat for the exam since its inception in 1985. The 8-year primary school course will be replaced by the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment from 2024, as Julie Ongaki now reports.
The 844 curriculum has come to an end at the primary school level following the announcement of the last Kenya Certificate of Primary Education results today. The curriculum, which has been in existence for 39 years, will be replaced by the Kenya Primary School Education Assessment, which is a 2662 system. Since its introduction in 1985, over 26 million candidates have sat for KCPE exams. Despite its numerous accomplishments, the system equally faced challenges in its implementation. The system had in latter years become exam-based, leading to cases of exam cheating due to success-driven pressures. This year, candidates had to put up with weather and traffic challenges, hindering of delivery of exam papers, learners missing on exam lists, insecurity in banditry-prone areas, among other difficulties. As Kenya ushers in the CBC curriculum, which appreciates competencies as opposed to performance in tests, its launchpad turned out to be a rough terrain. As Kenya ushers in the CBC curriculum, which appreciates competencies as opposed to performance in tests, its launchpad turned out to be a rough terrain. The system grapples with difficulties including inadequate trained teachers shouldering heavy workloads, curriculum design that demand more parent involvement coupled with high costs compared to the outgoing 844 system. As schools reopen on January 8, 2024, as announced by Education PS Belio Kipsang, primary school candidates will start preparing for KCPE exams, which will structurally resemble KCPE. Julie Ongaki, KUTV.
All right, thank you, Julie Ongaki, for that. It is an end of an era. And remember, we are taking a short break, but when we come back, the discussion is all about the end of an era, 844 system to be precise. So what has worked, what has failed, and what are some of the lessons that we carry forward even as we forge and prepare for a new future with competence-based curriculum system? Well, that discussion is coming up in just a while after this break.
loving husband and father.
Nothing is too good for my daughter.
An ambitious businessman with a dark secret. A girl with a whole life in front of her, plunging into a marriage that she did not choose with the wrong man.
I'm not ready to marry Zeva.
But who is the right one? I love Nambi. A rock star, living the dream.
But the babes keep chasing me, Agissa.
It ain't easy being famous, especially with so many glamorous women around. A woman hell-bent on revenge.
He will pay.
Seductive, dangerous. She is a predator. Everybody needs it. Everybody wants it. They will do anything to get it. Love and wealth.
Maelfu na maelfu ya wahamiaji wakiwa na watoto kutoka nchi za Amerika ya Kati wanaendelea kuwasili kwenye mpaka kati ya Marekani na Mexico.
But folks, I'm going. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ni habari kutoka pembe zote duniani.
People pass vuguvugu. People pass ni idea.
Tazidi ananyonya, hanyonyi vizuri, anakuwa hayuko comfortable.
Jeshi la Jamhuri ya Kidemokrasia ya Kongo linapambana na waasi wa ADF.
Kwa sasa wanatoa wito kwa mashirika, makampuni na vile vituo vya uchukuzi.
Mambo mengi yatakwenda kama yalivyopangwa.
Hapa ni kuna mmoja wa viongozi wa chama cha wavuvi katika eneo hili.
Zaidi tunajaribu kuwapa chanjo ili ina boost ama inanyanyua kinga ya mwili, ndio inaenda kupelekea kupambana na virusi.
Ni dunia ni leo, Jumatatu mpaka Ijumaa, moja kwa moja kutoka VOA Swahili, Washington DC.
Right, welcome back, and now the discussion begins right now. So it has been 39 years of a long journey that was marked in 1985, 39 to be precise. So even as we prepare for this new journey of competence-based curriculum system of education, so what are some of the valuable lessons that we have to learn as we prepare for this, this new transition period of a very different curriculum that many think this could be the silver bullet that our education system for quite a while has been lacking. And of course, to join me in this discussion is Ken Echesa. This is the education expert. Well, thank you so much for making time to at least engage with us in this very important discussion at a time that the last cohort of the 844 system of education, that is KCPE, curtain officially comes down tonight, or rather today. So what is your assessment, or rather how would you sum up the 844 system, Ken? All right. Can you unmute the sound?
Thank you very much, my brother. I hope you can now get me very well.
Loud and clear.
Thank you. 844 system has been with us as a system of education since 1985. The first KCPE was set for in 1985. The system has served us well in an exemplary way, and today we can report that over 50% of the national human resource, both in public and private sector, are products of 844 and products of KCPE. That means that it has been a system that had its own strength and its own weaknesses. Unfortunately, we have dwelt too much on the weaknesses of 844 and KCPE without celebrating it as a system that has served this country for 3 decades in a flawless manner. Of course, every system of education has its own weaknesses, and 844 had its own weaknesses. However, we want to blame these weaknesses for players in the education sector who along the way mutilated 844 for their own interests. For instance, when we were moving from the 7223 system that was proposed at independence, we had hoped that 844 would serve the needs of the emerging and developing country. However, along the way, and in 1999, we saw an attempt by the KUTV Commission to mutilate this particular system by reducing examinable subjects from 7 to 5. And actually subjects that were removed from examination were the practical subjects that will equip learners with practical skills such as art and craft, agriculture, and home science. We are surprised that now, after 10 years or 20 years after KUTV suggested that, we have CBC with us here. And CBC, to me, is an improvement and practical aspect of 844. So let us celebrate the system. It has served this nation well with its weaknesses, and we can make CBC better as we start with KCPE.
All right. Well, when you talk about making the CBC now better now, the question will be, what are some of the valuable lessons that we have to learn, even as we prepare for this competence-based curriculum, we can carry with us forward and actually improve on those weaknesses so that we can embrace this new competence-based curriculum system of education?
Part of the reasons why 844 was not very successful, it was because it was book-oriented. It was more theoretical. It lacked the practical aspect. And the reason it lacked the practical aspect was that there was a reduction of subjects, especially the practical subjects, since the state was not fully funding the equipping and putting up of laboratories or structures to infrastructure to support these practical subjects. For CBC to succeed, therefore, there must be a commitment, a real commitment from government to release funds, first, to increase capitation that goes on to free primary and secondary education, and 2, to release this increased capitation in good time. Without proper funding, CBC will be a flop. Just like 844 has suffered from its challenges because it was poorly funded. Number 2 is the examination manipulation. At one point, 844 became an exam-oriented curriculum. Children were being trained right from class 1 on how to pass exams. It was not about how to get the content and how to get the skills to be useful after schooling. It was about how many marks can you score in class 8 so that you join a good secondary school? How can you pass KCSE so that you can go to a good university and study a good course? So students began suffering at the university since they had been pushed through primary and secondary system to pass examination. CBC now emphasizes on the practical aspect of examination and should not be prone to manipulation. And even as students choose their pathways after grade 12, we must protect this system from the cartels that have ruled the education sector over time, so that children are placed in the correct pathways. Those going for arts, those going for sports sciences, and those going for STEM. It must be on merit, in a very practical situation, in a manner that is not interfered with on the basis of background, on the basis of race, creed, tribe, or any other consideration that 844 might have put in place.
All right. Well, even as we wind up this discussion, well, I want us to focus on this particular KCPE results. So how will you sum up this the 2023 KCPE results, even as we wind up this discussion because of time, Echesa?
One, I want to congratulate all students who sat KCPE in the year 2023, irrespective of the scores that they made. Even those who had less than 100, less than 200, they did their best, and we can make good use of them in the proper avenues. Secondly, you will have realized that this year's KCPE was lower than last year's KCPE. The performance was not as good as last year. This reflects on how bad our sector, in education sector, is. funding is a problem. This year, government has only funded up to 50%. And this is being reflected in performance. Since there was a drop in funding, there has been a drop in performance. You can't teach effectively, you can't offer tuition services effectively if the Ministry of Education has not funded the sector. Number two, we've been told that over 9,000 students missed KCPE and will be expected to sit the same in January 2024. Government has not given us a comprehensive report about where these students were.
Thank you. Well,
who had disappeared and what was the cause of it?
Thank you. All right, because of time, I think we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Ken Echesa, education expert, for making time. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me.
All right. Well, now let's move on. Still matters. Education and KCPE to be precise. Michael Warutere appears first among the top performing students in 2023 Kenya Certificate of Primary Education KCPE. Among the top 10 students are Michael Warutere from Riara Springs Academy with 428 marks, Immaculate Wacheke, the second with 427 marks from Gilgil Hills School in Nakuru. Hadija Eunice of Light Academy attained 426 marks. Kinywa Barak Mureithi, Mberi Hope Mwendwa, Mungiria Longa Mureithi, Mwiti Ivy Mukiri from Kadhingiri School got 414 marks each. Kelvin Gichoki from Gilgil Hills School attained 417 marks, and Kiongora Valentine Mwendwa along with Mugo Martin Luther from Kadhingiri School scored 417 and 413 respectively, with over 8,000 students attaining 400 marks.
Are they transisted to high school?
I have scored 407 marks. I really want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for making me pass my exams.
Private schools in Teso North have posted commendable results in this year KCPE exams. Emuria, who emerged second best student from Isegere Toto, attributed his results to hard work, discipline and efforts from his teachers.
I'm very happy to receive these results. It hasn't been easy. We have been working hard since the beginning of the year, preparing to celebrate this day.
Pata matokeo mazuri mwaka huu. Tunamshukuru Mungu kutuwezesha kufika umbali huu, tukilinganisha matokeo ya mwaka huu na matokeo ya mwaka uliopita. Mwaka huu tumepita.
The top performers listed were Michael Warutere from Riara Springs Academy, Immaculate Wacheke from Gilgil Hills Schools in Nakuru, Hadija Eunice from Light Academy, Kinywa Barak Mureithi, among others. The 2023 KCPE candidates are expecting to join secondary schools to further their education. Dorothy Musioka, KUTV.
Right, while disseminating findings of a study done to evaluate the status of early childhood development ECD system in Nairobi, among other counties, Siaya, Kajiado and Mombasa, the ECD Network National Coordinator Dr. Teresa Mwoma underscored the need for counties to prioritize early childhood development to enable children under the age of 0 to 5 years to develop into their full potential. The stakeholders passionate about the importance of investing in the child include Ruth Owur, the City Director of Education in Nairobi County, also highlighted that while the county's capital is doing relatively well in terms of capitation for children, other counties need to be engaged when it comes to budget allocation for ECD. Among the recommendations by the stakeholders present is the enhancement of governance commitment, especially for county governments to prioritize nurturing care by developing the skills of healthcare workers and pre-primary teachers, allocating resources for training and professional development.
What we've been able to do as Food for Education is really advocate for funding at county governments where ECD is mandated to ensure that children have access to a hot, nutritious meal, to ensure that they're able to achieve their nutritional and education outcomes.
We want to say that we need to have guidelines when allocating funds. There is a specific funding going towards children below 5 years, something that is not happening. So what we did through this program budgeting, we were trying to check on some of the budget lines or items that focuses on activities that support children below 5 years.
Unless and until you realize that if you don't have proper ECD functioning in your county, then the foundation will be so shaky that even whatever else you're planning for the youth and who, if you don't plan for them at the ECD level, then you'll have already failed. Yeah, because that is the foundation. So allocation of funds, not looking at how much the ECD is bringing in, but as a social responsibility of every county.
Right, it is 33 minutes past the time to take yet another short break. When we come back, it's all about disaster management. Remember, the rain is pounding and it's wreaking havoc in many parts of the country, and to be precise, now the number has even risen to over 19 counties. So that is the dire situation of the seriousness that this discussion actually is intended to shed light and even lay bare the facts and even the rate, or rather the way the things are on the ground. And who is best to give us insight than Peter Mulgor, that is the Disaster Risk Reduction Management Manager. See you in a bit.
Lola is an app that gives you a chance to watch videos, listen to audios, and read articles wherever you are for free. Motivational stories, dramas, campus life, technology, lifestyle, adventure, sports, academics, jobs, entertainment, and more. Download Lola now on Play Store. All you need, you got Lola.
Kulima huwa tunalima na tinga, tunalima na tinga na majembe. After that tunapiga haro, alafu na kupiga mitaro na either watu, unachukua watu napiga na mashimo ama ranger hii ya kupiga mashimo, hii ya kupiga mitaro.
What are some of the ways through which you can develop these skills so that you are comfortably fitting into the job?
You have to put yourself in positions where you are uncomfortable. Uncomfortable in the sense that you are not clear about what to do.
Because I used to work a corporate job before. So when I left, I happened to visit someone's farm around this area.
So this project is called Security Breach Detector and Readiness Familiarize. It is meant to be used to detect, detonate explosives.
We'll tackle all the tough issues, discuss all the weird moments, and hopefully share a few laughs along the way.
Right, welcome back, and our discussion begins right now. And of course, remember the discussion is all about disaster management, the situation on the ground caused by the El Nino rains. And actually there is some, a lot of displacement here, aid needed, humanitarian crisis on the rise. So joining me in this discussion is Peter Mulgor. This is the Disaster Risk Reduction Manager at Red Cross. Peter Mulgor, thank you so much for making time.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. From humanitarian point of view, how dire is the situation, Mulgor?
The situation is quite dire because we are talking about, I know you mentioned around 19 counties, but the number of counties has risen from the last time we talked. And now we are looking at about 25 towards 28 counties that are being affected. The northeastern region, that is Wajir, Mandera, Garissa, for the third week now, they're experiencing a cutoff from supplies. They've not been able to receive food. They've not been able to receive anything going into that region. And Red Cross is now having to airlift food. We are talking about other counties coming in. You saw what is happening in Mombasa. The Tana Delta now is becoming active. We heard of mudslides in parts of Meru, the Western Kenya, backflows of the Lake Victoria and downstream River Nzoia flowing down there. So we are talking about 76 people having lost their lives according to the National Disaster Operations Center data. This is government data. And 75,000 households being indicated to have been affected by these floods. So the needs are dire. We are looking at people who are displaced, 35,000 households at least. That is 176,000 people who are affected. We are looking at a situation where people are now not being able to access their medical needs. If people had chronic illnesses, they're cut off from health facilities because of being marooned. We are looking at farms that have been submerged, and that means post-harvest losses of crops. This is the situation, the way it is now unfolding. People are now going into temporary settlement so that they can be housed or they can be able to take temporary shelter. So this is how the situation is unfolding. Dire needs around water, clean water for drinking. During this flood, things like contaminated water because latrines are washed away, there is surface water runoff. So that now predisposes the affected communities to disease outbreaks like cholera and water or vector-borne diseases.
Okay. Well, because most of the time you guys are on the ground for disaster management, at a time like, such help is needed everywhere. Now, the question is, what are some of the challenges or just how difficult is it for you guys to actually, take the needed help to areas and for those, or rather those who are affected the most? So how difficult is it for you guys now, given that some roads are impassable, sometimes even, some counties, areas have been submerged. So what is the situation like?
First of all, to start, and thank you, to start with is the resources to respond. You've raised a pertinent question of the difficulty of the situation. The nature of response that we are seeing right now, first of all, is a large-scale response because we are looking at a nationwide response in the sense that almost half of the counties, when you're talking about 25 to 28, that's almost half out of the 47 counties. So the large-scale resources. But more importantly, is when areas like northeastern region that are cut off, we are having
All right. All right. We can't, get your sound clearly, but this is a very important discussion that we are talking about, and at least 29 counties right now have been affected with this El Nino, and remember it was predicted earlier on that we might actually get into this sort of situation. So now the question that many are asking is, the earlier interventions or even the warning that were issued by the Met Department in readiness for this preparation for this particular El Nino rain. So did it, actually sink into the right ears for this, to at least try and avert the already escalated, some sort of humanitarian crisis? And that is the big question that many people are asking. And of course, on that short note, even as we contemplate of this discussion, we are taking a very short break. When we come back, remember the discussion still continues with Peter Mugor.
zako hazielezeki. Oh, umefanya hili, umefanya lile, umenipa jina Baba, nina kushukuru. What is this? A stick, right? And what has happened to the stick? Imevunjika, right? Follow me. They say broken things can't be fixed, right? But that's a lie. Kwani, why did Jesus die on the cross? It is so that those who are broken can be fixed. Now, that is why this program is here. Believe and live. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever, anybody who believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. Whosoever believes shall live. John 3:16. Catch me right here only on KUTV every single Sunday. Now, good news, there'll also be a subsequent series called Biblical Mathematics, but you'll only catch it right only on my YouTube channel at Believe and Live, John 3:16. See you there.
Kulima huwa tunalima na tinga, tunalima na tinga na majembe. After that tunapiga haro, alafu na kupiga mitaro na either watu, unachukua watu unapiga na mashimo, ama ranger hii ya kupiga mashimo, hii ya kupiga mitaro.
Are you an aspiring media practitioner, a graduate, or you just want to advance your skills in television production? Then welcome to Kenyatta University, where education meets innovation. KUTV, the premier university television station in Kenya, is now offering short courses in TV studio, field technical operations, and video editing. Through these courses, you will acquire hands-on skills on camera operations, media production, lighting techniques, audio-visual editing, and sound and visual control, and how to operate key equipment in modern TV control room. Enroll today at KUTV and discover your full potential in cutting-edge TV broadcasting. Graduates of these courses will receive professional certificates. For more information, visit our offices at KUTV Studios or call us on 020-870-4252 or 020-870-4255 or SMS us on 0739-110-544. KUTV, a new experience.
Right, welcome back. And now the discussion still continues with Peter Mulgor. Well, you were talking about, you raised a very important, point, the need for, some sort of stakeholders engagement, the work ethics between all partners, that is stakeholders involved, as far as averting this already escalating situation is concerned. So just how critical is it important for partnership right now to try and avert the already situation that is getting out of hand?
Thank you, Evans. It is quite important for people to come together now as partners, especially seeing the vast needs. We are looking at compounded needs. This is not a disaster that is just like, say, people need food. No, we are talking about people not being in homes, so there is need for shelter, there is need for provision of food assistance, there is need for provision of medicines, there is need for provision of water treatment chemicals and water that is clean and safe for drinking. There is need for evacuation into safe centers. This means that different players need to come in with support. Different people need to come and be able to support from different perspectives so that we are able to support this community. So it's important to collaborate. It's important to coordinate because of the wide scale and the huge number of people that are in need of assistance at the moment, and especially seeing the needs. funding partners would really come in handy to provide funds for response, for example. Yeah.
All right. And another very critical question that, as far as this particular discussion is concerned, I remember a couple of months ago we were talking about, the preparedness as far as this El Nino is concerned. And the question will be, did we actually hit the call? Because they were warning out there that we might find ourselves in this situation. So did we take the warning from the Med department as far as El Nino is concerned, or what happened?
Very good question. And I think that's a discussion that needs to be like learnings that we carry forward from these incidents, because yes, there was early warning. Yes, there was information that we are expecting the October, November, December rains to be amplified and compounded by the El Nino phenomenon and Indian Oceanic Dipole. As to whether we took that seriously, as to whether people believed in the forecasts, that's another discussion. But at least on the Kenya Red Cross side, what really worked well for us is we took heed of that information. We started preparing. We started pre-positioning items into Northeastern region that now was cut off. We trained aqua rescue teams. We worked with communities to disseminate to them about having community-based disease surveillance and clearing drainages. And Evans, this really proved to be very beneficial, because when now it was time to respond, we had relief items, at least in Northeastern. When the roads were cut off, at least there were some relief items inside there. When the farmers were marooned, our aqua rescue teams and the boats we had prepositioned, we used them to evacuate and to move these farmers into safe areas. So yes, we could have prepared better. We could have done better to heed the early warning information that was there. But I think these are lessons that we are learning. We need to experience something to be able to learn and maybe act better. So these are lessons that are being learned, that yes, when there is a forecast next time, when there is a credible forecast for that matter, we should now heed it, come collectively, start taking tangible actions. Indeed, Evans, let me say, when I look at late August into early September, there were very good initial efforts, especially by the National Disaster Operations Center, Kenya Red Cross, UN agencies and stakeholders coming together to try and say, how do we develop contingency plans? How do we develop El Nino preparedness plans and response plans? How do we even support communities and prepare for this? But along the way, it seemed the ball dropped. Probably we did go the whole mile to anticipate and to put resources for early action, and even the response was needed to put the adequate resources. I think it now took lives being seen to have been displaced for people now to start acting.
Okay. Well, because you are on the ground and you get to at least either witness or get the first-hand information on the situation. Well, it's now an issue of how prepared each counties are. And if you want to talk about the areas that are mostly affected, we are talking about the northeastern, some parts of coast. In terms of each county government actually chipping in and giving the support that is needed, do you think the counties are doing enough to actually avert this, and talk less of the national government?
What I know, Evans, is their attempts and efforts towards this.
Okay.
There are discussions, there are frameworks that are being established. We are seeing counties, they are not where it should be, but I think we must say this year we've seen deliberate efforts and attempts towards that.
Okay.
We saw Nairobi County, for example, Kiambu County. We saw a number of counties launching El Nino response plans. We saw a number of counties trying to work around clearing drainages and all that. But I think a lot more needs to go into that. There needs to be much more investments into infrastructure. There need to be frameworks that allow drainage systems not to be interfered with, that allows infrastructure, that allows waterways to go where they need to go to be done. There needs to be a lot of community engagement and sensitization. So there's a lot more that can be done, Evans. So the good thing is that there are conversations happening right now.
Okay.
The main thing we would want to see is those conversations now trickling down into frameworks, trickling down into policies, and the things that will now enable early action, enable early warning systems, enable mitigation of such impacts, and resource allocation for that matter, because some of these things also are resource intensive.
Okay. Well, Peter Murgol, thank you so much for making time to talk to us about this very important conversation at a time that most parts of the country, continue to receive heavy rainfall that has affected some families. Others have lost their lives as a result of this El Nino. So thank you so much. And I think this is where we have to leave it because of time, but it's always a pleasure having you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Evans. Thank you very much, the entire crew of KUTV. Always a pleasure to engage and interact with you. Thank you, bye.
Okay. Well, we take yet another short break. When we come back, it's Sporty Action.
I'm Associate Professor in the Institute of Philosophy of Jagiellonian University in Krakow, Poland, and I'm the main coordinator of the CAFE project, which is being here hosted by Kenyatta University.
My name is Eva Hudoba. I am a project manager in this consortium. Keep watching cutting-edge research at Kenyatta University Television.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more. Only on Law Matters.
Right, let's get sporty. The Kenya women football team, Harambee Starlets, have returned to their training camp at the Moi Sports Center, Kasarani, for their preparation ahead of Women Africa Cup of Nations qualifying match against Botswana. Starlets, under the head coach Beldin Odemba, are scheduled to play against Botswana on 29th November at Nyayo National Stadium in Nairobi for the first leg match before traveling to Gaborone, Botswana for the second leg tie scheduled for 5th of December. The aggregate winner of the two matches will qualify for the Women Africa Cup of Nations, that is WAFCON 2024 tournament set to be held in Morocco. Still matters football. The Kenya Football Under 2018 team, that is better known as the Junior Stars, are expected to take on Somalia, Rwanda and Sudan in Group A of the Sakafa tournament scheduled to begin this Saturday. Group B consists of Tanzania, Zanzibar, South Sudan and Uganda, and the matches are expected to be played at the Mamboleo Stadium in Kisumu and at Bohungu Stadium in Kakamega County. The Junior Star, under the head coach Salim Babu, will play against Sudan in the first match, and attacking midfielder, that is Aldrin Kibet, is confident ahead of the tournament, asking Kenyans to turn up in large numbers to support the team.
Midfield 10. Na from my position nasema training imekuwa poa. Kuna hiyo bond imeingia tayari. Tumeanza kuzoeana the way we play. So coordination iko fit, yani kila kitu iko poa, iko ready. Mood iko positive. Because the first thing kwa hii team ni prayers first, God first. Alafu kuna team building, teamwork. So the mood iko positive. Kila mtu ana aspire for greatness.
Now from football to hockey. Kenyan side Western Jaguars trash host Parachute 13-0 in the ongoing Africa Hockey Club Championship in Malawi to go second on the log with 10 points, 2 points behind leaders Shakia of Egypt. In the Women's Championship, Kenya side Lakers demolished the Gentrix of Malawi and are now top of the table with 11 points after 5 matches. The African Hockey Club Championship are expected to conclude on the 26th of this month. Now you are up to date with the latest in the world of politics, education, business, and of course, sports. My name is Auma Evans, and of course, my sign language interpreter has been Sheila Kinyaga. Until next time, it's a bye-bye, and do have a lovely night.